Joyetech's giving away 250 eVic VTC minis on the internet right now. I guess they're giving away 200 of them in one contest and another 50 of them on the e-cigarette forum. Naturally, I signed up for the contest. I'd certainly love to win one. I'd certainly love to win anything. And I was on the e-cigarette forum where I'd also signed up there as well. We were discussing the eVic VTC Mini, and we were discussing what might be the best tank to use on top of that device for temperature control. Of course, all the usual suspects came up, the Kanger sub tank, the Aspire Atlantis and all of its little clones, the Crown tank, and I said, why not use the eGo ONE mega tank that comes with the kit? Let's take a look at one of the stock coils right here. This is a stock coil. Look at this. The juice holes on that are just absolutely minute. I mean, tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. This is a nickel coil, and so you might expect the holes to be small in a nickel coil, and there are 4 of them, but come on, folks. That's just a tiny, tiny little hole. Decent draw through the middle, but it's still, I mean, come on. Look at that. That's tiny. But you can use these coils, focus back in now. There we go. But you can use these tanks with CLR heads. That's the CL heads that are rebuildable, hence the R. And the CLR heads have a much larger juice hole. See, look over here. Now you can focus up here now, camera. There we go. That's that whole wick area there in the middle. That's for the juice hole, and there's 2 of them. It's on par perhaps with one of the first generation Atlantis coil heads. That's a pretty decent sized little hole there for wicking and for juice. And again, it's a horizontal coil, but you've got plenty of airflow on the sides. Nice big hole in the bottom, gold plated contacts from this titanium coil. So let's go ahead and let's take one apart, build it, and see how it works. What do you say? Here we have an eGo ONE Mini. Now, the CLR heads will work in the eGo ONE Mini, they'll work in the eGo ONE Mega, they'll work in the eGo ONE XL, they'll work in the eVic VT, they'll work in the eVic VTC, anything that has the eGo ONE designation on it. We're even told that it'll work in the upcoming Tron tank that they've come out with. So to build it, we're going to go ahead and take the battery off. I like to pop the drip tip out, toss it to the side, and we're going to take the base off. One problem I will say that there is with the eGo ONE tanks is that on occasion the threads do not hold, and you'll leave, and we didn't do it this time, but you'll leave the coil head in the tank section. Not a big deal, just a little bit annoying. Go ahead and pull this off. And so here we have the CLR head. Now you can tell the difference between the titanium CL heads and the Kanthal CL heads because of the color of the O-ring that's on it. You'll see the Kanthal coils have black, the titanium coils have red, and this one over here, it's a little harder to see if I get it up close and focus, it's blue, and that's a nickel head. I don't have any CLR nickel heads, so we're just going to do a Kanthal head tonight. First, you disassemble it. You pull that pin out of the bottom, pull off the grommet, which is also the insulator, unscrew the top section, set that aside, and pull out the coil. Just like so. Now that coil is not terribly old. I've only had it in there for a couple of days, but we're just going to go ahead and toss that aside. Okay. Wipe my fingers down for a minute. That coil was a little bit juicy. And now we're going to take some 26 gauge Kanthal wire. All you need is about half a wrap. we're going to use a 2.4 millimeter screwdriver. That's this one here. Now you can use a 2.5 mandrel, perhaps something out of your Coil Master or your Curo coiler or your UD coiler, or you can use a 2.4 millimeter screwdriver. You can use a 2 millimeter screwdriver, but the reason you want to use 2.4, 2 or 2.5 millimeters is it slides right down in there. Look at that. And 2.5 is going to be a little bit snug. 2 millimeter will fit in there easy, but the 2.4 millimeter, it's like it was built for it. Look at that. So we're going to go ahead and use a 2.4 millimeter screwdriver. And we're going to make 6 wraps around this. Now that's 6. The first wrap doesn't really count. We're just going to squeeze that together and then space it back out. We want this to be a space coil. Matter of fact, all the coils that I build anymore are space coils. You know, the days of the microcoil, I think, or the contact coil, I think they're gone and over. Some people still swear by them. I don't like them anymore. And we're going to pull back out that first wrap. Okay. Just like so. Straighten those wires a little bit. And we're going to snip one leg a little bit shorter than the other. Right there. And we're going to drop those 2 legs down through the middle of that coil head. In theory. There we go. Okay. Alright, now on one side there is a notch. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see the notch. It's over here. So we're going to try and fold that leg over into that notch. It's a very small notch, but it's there. Okay, and we're going to take that and drop it over the other one and push that back into place. Now this is 26 gauge Kanthal. You can use 24 gauge Kanthal in a pinch, but you're liable to tear your insulator there. 28 gauge Kanthal is fine. 26 works. I'm sure you could get away with 30 and 32, of course. But then you'd be talking about building a 1 ohm coil head or 1.2 or something, which you might want. We're going to take and snip off any excess right there. Try to get as close to the edge as we can, because we don't want that to interfere with the threading. We don't want to tear our insulator either. There we go. Do the same on the other side. There we go. Now, the coil's been distorted and pushed out of place, but that's okay. Take your tweezers, take a pair of screwdriver, a pair of pliers, take a screwdriver, push it back towards the center. Well, let's go ahead and take the base, screw this back into the base. Put it on our reader. See what we've got. Got a 0.76, and that's where you might want to use a 24 gauge wire, or you might want to try a 4 wrap of the 26 gauge, but 3/4 of an ohm, not too bad. All right. You can reach in there and pinch it closed if you want, just a little bit, make sure it's all lined up, and then of course we want to wick it. Now I'm using some rayon. I like the rayon. Inexpensive, clean, wicks really well. Just take about an inch off, thin that out a little bit, roll it down a little bit, twist up one end. I fold it over for a little bit there so that you can get it thicker, and run that through the coil. With rayon, you want it to be tight, and I do mean tight. You want to hear the crunch in the middle. You want it to almost distort the coil, because rayon does not expand the way cotton does. It shrinks even a little bit, so a tighter coil is going to work better. We'll hold that down on either side, and we will get this back on there and snug it up. That's why you hold it on both sides so you don't grab the wick. There we go. And you take your scissors and you run it right up along the side. And snip it off. That is one thing I will say about rayon. It does kind of fly away and get everywhere. Worse than cotton. There we go. Do the same to the other side. With juicy fingers, I have rayon stuck to me for hours, it seems like. But I do like the way it wicks. And I also like that it's a whole lot less expensive. Take and break those open a little bit, make sure our juice channel is fully open. And then, of course, we want to wick it, or pardon me, it's wick. We want to prime the wick. So we'll put a drop on this side, a drop on that side. I like to put, 2 or 3 drops on the inside. Take that off. Drop it on the floor. No, don't really drop it on the floor. That's not a step. Screw it back into your base or into your tank. Put the drip tip back on. Wipe it off because it's all juicy again. Put it back on your mod. Maybe if you have the desire, close it down and give it a dry pull. Open it back up. Yep, that's all it took, folks. What was that, about 3 or 4 minutes to coil the tank on camera? Less if I hadn't babbled as much. And the coil heads, the CLR coil heads, come in a packet of 5 for around $9. That's $9 for 5 coil heads, and they're reusable, rebuildable. So you're looking at, just unlimited uses out of them. It's an absolutely fantastic bargain, and they really do work pretty well. I've got the eGo ONE Mega tank on my eVic VT here. That's got a 0.57 ohm titanium coil in it right now. The eGo ONE Mini over here has the new 0.7 ohm Canthal coil. I've got another eGo ONE Mega on the eVic VT, eGo ONE VT, and this is another 0.7 ohm Canthal coil. I've got it currently set to high power. They work great. They work great. They wick well when built like that, and they're easy to rebuild and inexpensive as well. Let's go back up. We'll talk about it, and we'll talk to you. See you then.